There's a new study out, guys, that we really need to look at because it's concerning. It's not out to do somehow, you often call it fear-mongering, but it is concerning. So it doesn't directly predict an eruption because that is scientifically not possible, but it warns that Campi Flegrei is in a critical phase. The swarms, the land rise, the gas emissions, they all signal that the system is under high stress. So the most likely scenario, if there was an eruption, is, according to them, phreatic explosions. That could happen. It's a likely outcome if the pressure cooker blows, so to speak. And there's an anomaly in the Phlegreian fields, in the craters at the Phlegreian fields. That is kind of strange and raises questions. Monte Olibano. We will look into that. So if you're living on the edge of a supervolcano, which unfortunately many people in Pozzuoli do, we have roughly between 500 to 700,000 in the so-called red zone of these Campi Flegrei calderas. It's a large area. So you live there. The ground beneath your home shifts daily almost. Tiny earthquakes rattle your windows. Larger earthquakes make you run out on the streets, sleep in your car, see that your homes are not seismically safe. Air carries a feint of sulfur. Now, just in my last video, they have detected high concentrations of CO2 in homes in basement and public structures. So it's not a sci-fi movie that we're trying to describe here. This is the reality for over 500,000 people in Italy living in the Campi Flegrei. We have to say in because they're living in these areas, in these craters. That's a volcanic caldera just west of Naples. And of course, Naples is influenced by this as well, over 6 million people. The current Brady seismic crisis with the earthquakes and the land rise started in 2005. The land has been constantly rising since then. But, and that's what the study focuses on, especially since 2021, this restless supervolcano, this giant, has been sending out warning signs. Like these burst-like seismic swarms that we're seeing. Relentless ground uplift. Sometimes accelerated ground uplift, and these surging gas emissions. The CO2 emissions right now at Campi Flegrei just came out in the recent bulletin of the INGV have increased. You see it here in the graph behind me. So this new study reveals that these earthquake swarms that we're seeing, and we just had a massive one, massive one, are the heartbeat of an accelerating unrest. The unrest is accelerating. This is a fact that we have to accept. And that's why it's keeping scientists and the residents on the edge. So could this be the prelude for something bigger? Many scientists warn, yes. So now we will dive underneath Campi Flegrei, that supervolcano called the Burning Fields, and we will lay a special focus, guys, on the types of eruptions that might be expected or are likely based on these new findings that this new study has revealed. So Campi Flegrei isn't a cone-shaped volcano like Vesuvius, like a stratovolcano. It's a sprawling caldera. It looks like asteroids hit the land. This is how it looks. And it was formed by massive eruptions, tens of thousands of years ago. And the last outburst was in 1538. But since 2005, it's been rumbling. And with almost 20,000 earthquakes recorded by 2024. And we've even had way more, close to 700 earthquakes just in the last earthquake swarm. Things took a really dramatic turn in 2021 because that's when a new type of seismic activity emerged. And that's what the researchers call burst-like seismic swarms. So it's if you imagine you have like a drum roll of tiny earthquakes, like hundreds of them, firing off so fast that they overlap. We've just seen this in Santorini, or before an eruption in Iceland, shortly before an eruption, just an hour or so, you see this earthquake swarm in one location. Every earthquake is one circle and one dot, but then there's so many, you can't identify dots anymore. It's a big painted area. So they're overlapping, they're blending into a chaotic rumble, so to speak. And that's the difference to regular earthquake swarms. The quakes are spaced out more, time-wise. And they're easy to count. But what you call these rapid bursts that we've seen, you can call them rapid fire. They're sometimes only seconds apart. And again, also we're seeing this in Santorini. So what this new study does, this study pinpoints them basically as a defining feature of the unrest since 2021. And it's concentrated in two hotspots. The Solfatara Peschiarelli hydrothermal area, where we have all these fumaroles and the steam coming out, lots of sulfur, and then near Mount Olibano. And there at Mount Olibano, the ground is behaving strangely compared to the rest of the area. And then we need to look into this. They're just building a railroad tunnel through there underground. Imagine that, guys. But this outlines how little they knew or wanted to know about that. Development was important. New construction is important. We're just seeing that the civil defense said, well, nothing is seismically upgraded. If we see a magnitude 5.1, which is likely, everything will collapse and we will count the people that we have lost. And then developers were really angry because they want to build right at the Solfatara. They want to build a hotel. Some say Marriott is involved. So they said, you can't do that. That's going to have an economic impact. And psychologically, this is hard. So interesting, they're building a railroad there. I'll get to that. I'll explain to you a little bit further, but let's have a look at that phenomenon of Mount Olibano first. I mean, isn't this crazy, guys? I mean, I'm reporting about Campi Flegrei every day, and I'm still like blown away. I find more strange things, but the same is in Santorini. So check out these videos as well, because I keep finding these things. So we had the largest so far, this magnitude 4.4 earthquake last year, May 20th. That was really rattling the region. The people were on the streets. It was really a wake-up call. So some say it's the biggest in 40 years, some say even longer. So that earthquake hit Pozzuoli mainly with the epicenter during an earthquake swarm. So with over 150 earthquakes just in 5 hours. And with all these earthquakes, bang, we had the 4.4. There's also a detailed map that's coming from the study that's bringing this to life. If we look at the orange and red dots, they cluster tightly around the Solfatara Peschiarelli area and Mount Olibano. That marks the earthquake epicenters with denser patterns signaling the intensity of these swarms, right? You can see that when they're overlapping. But these aren't just random tremors, guys. And that's why I'm reporting about this. They're a sign that something underground is cracking under pressure. And that is really concerning because since we had the last Brady seismic crisis that probably ended in a magma intrusion underground, that means magma was moving but didn't make it to the surface. Since then, that caprock layer that keeps a lid on the magma has only a third of its strength left. So this is significant. Scientists are looking at 3 key trends that they're seeing here. The ground deformation that has started since 2005. The caldera center there has risen probably 1.30 meters by now. But since 2021, it's been inflating, rising faster, accelerated with up to 1 centimeter per month. And we even had it during the earthquakes last May. We had for a few months 2 centimeters per month. You have to understand that this ground swelling that is happening over the years, it's like blowing up a balloon, slow motion, underneath the earth that lifts the land. And that balloon is the magma chamber that is filling up, magma accumulating. And then they're looking at these burst-like swarms. These quakes are tied most likely to the hydrothermal system. Like hot water and gases that are trapped in the rocks. And they're building pressure until the earth snaps and gives way. So the map that they have shown us here shows clearly with these orange dots that are swarming around the hot spots. And then they're looking at the gas emissions. CO2 levels have spiked, hitting like 1,575 tons per day in 2024, and it's gradually accelerating. And this is a rate, and this is important that we have to know that is similar or same to what active volcanoes with open vents are emitting. So this surge that they're seeing there is, in their opinion, a massive clue that the hydrothermal system is in overdrive. And here's where it gets intriguing, guys. Near Mount Olibano, the ground isn't rising as fast as everywhere else. So why? So the study calls this a geodetic anomaly, an uplift deficit of about 11 centimeters by May 2024. Well, that's almost a year ago. So the rest of the caldera is moving upward faster, like a balloon is being blown up underneath it. But this spot lags behind. Why? It is linked to a shallow deformation source, just 528 meters deep, like half a mile. So the map hints at this. If you look at the map with fewer green and yellow dots, so likely deformation markers in that zone. And what the stunning piece is that this study found is they found a near perfect correlation, which is, if you want to know the scientific term, R equals 0.998, between this uplift deficit and the total earthquake count. So it's related. Makes sense. The interesting thing is, the slower the ground rises there, the more quakes we see. As if the rocks are straining against some hidden force, possibly magma, fluids, or faults. And that's triggering those burst-like swarms. So if we imagine that Campi Flegrei is a pressure cooker, deep down at about 3.8 kilometers, there's the primary source of pushing everything up. They detected this last year, that there is a magma chamber, a shallow one, way shallower than they thought. They thought that this would be at 7 to 8 kilometers depth. But near Mount Olibano, if we think about the pressure cooker, the lid, that's usually like rattling, is rattling differently. It's letting off steam in the form of earthquakes. So what does that mean for potential eruptions? So we have to look into the historical context of Campi Flegrei, because Campi Flegrei has a track record of waking up without warning. And I have reported about this in my last videos. That's what is especially Mastro Lorenzo, the scientist of the INGV, is warning about. The magma is already in an explosive state. We might not have a warning. But all their evacuation plans are based on like at least 72 hours only for the red zone, only for 500,000 people or 700,000 people. What about the others? We had 2 Brady seismic systems from 1969 to 1972, and then again a more significant one from 1982 till 1984. 1984, these Brady seismic crisis where the ground was rising dramatically up to 1.8 meters. So that's a tall person. And then earthquakes shook the region during that Brady seismic crisis. But no lava was flowing. The magma didn't make it to the top. That's why I said before, magma intrusion. And the current events that we're seeing echoes this unrest. With the difference, I said it, the caprock layer has only a third of its strength left. That's confirmed in another study. It echoes these events, but something is setting them apart. And these are these burst-like swarms that they are detecting since 2021 that are so worrisome. It worries me when I hear that. And then in the study, it compares them to patterns that they see at other volcanoes. And that worries me even more, guys. For like Mammoth Mountain and White Island. I've reported about White Island, right? So similar swarms preceded these phreatic explosions there. If you don't know what happened at White Island, check my playlist for White Island. Check my channel page. I have reported about this. What are phreatic explosions? Like sudden steam blast that shoots out rocks at over 100 kilometers per hour. Very, very dangerous and violent. And that is driven by hydrothermal pressure rather than magma at this point. And what this study says is that explosions like this are definitely a real possibility here at Campi Flegrei and also in the near future. And especially near the Solfatara-Peschiarelli area where we already have the hot steam coming out, these fumaroles. So we can see it. The hydrothermal activity is like boiling mud pools, bubbling, steamy stuff. It's boiling over. It looks like it's boiling over, like a pressure cooker. So unlike the traditional volcanic eruptions that spew like lava and ash, these phreatic explosions are violent bursts of steam and rock fragments. They're triggered when pressurized water flashes into steam. And that makes them so unpredictable. And they can be so devastating. And particularly in a densely populated area like Campi Flegrei. And now imagine right where the Solfatara is, they want to build a hotel. And the problem is that the residents then say, well, if they're investing billions in this area, why should we move away? If they're making such a big investment, it can't be that dangerous, right? So why is it more likely at the current moment that we see phreatic explosions rather than a magmatic eruption? So we find the clue in this study and in their findings. So the burst-like swarms that we're seeing, that we're talking about, and the surging CO2 emissions, just watch my last video about that, and then the rapid ground uplift, they point to a hydrothermal system under immense stress. Lots of pressure in the pressure cooker. And then the map again reinforces this, that they're showing us these dense red and orange clusters around the Solfatara, Peschiarelli. They signal these intense activity in a zone that's known for its hydrothermal vents and the steaming fumaroles. And if we look at the history, Campi Flegrei's unrest has been driven by these surface fluids rather than magma breaking through. But let's still understand, it's still a possibility to see a magmatic eruption, like completely with lava flows and with ash. That's absolutely still in the game if magma rises closer to the surface, and it is rising most likely. But the current data that they're taking away from this study leans towards phreatic events as the more immediate concern. And the problem is, again, these explosions could occur with little warning, especially if the pressure in the hydrothermal system reaches a tipping point. And what does that mean for the 500,000 people that are living directly in and on and around this caldera? That hits close to home, right? That's devastating. Since 2012, the Italian Civil Protection has changed the alert level for Campi Flegrei from green to yellow. That reflects the ongoing concerns, but there's voices that would like to change it to orange right now, already since late 2023. They have done evacuation drills since October 2024, and now this February 2025, a swarm of over 700 earthquakes in 4 days forced school closures. People were scared, sleeping in their cars, running on the streets. Like urban areas like Pozzuoli and Naples sit right next to those red hot seismic clusters, amplifying the stakes. And that's why I said in the beginning, the study confirms that Campi Flegrei is in a critical phase. So the study loudly calls for vigilance, more data, better models, public awareness. They say that's essential to stay ahead. So what's the takeaway from this? Between 2021 and 2024, Campi Flegrei's unrest has accelerated, and in 25 it's accelerating even further. It's fueled by these burst-like seismic swarms, a rising landscape, and this gassy hydrothermal system with increasing CO2 gas emissions that are also now found in structures, in basements. And then this geodetic anomaly like near Mount Olibano ties it all together, showing how deformation and quakes are locked in a very tense relationship. They dance with each other. So this isn't just science that I'm reporting about. This is a wake-up call for a supervolcano that's stirring beneath one of Italy's most densely populated areas. So guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave it a like. If you didn't, don't press that button, okay? If you want to dive deeper, check out my playlists about Campi Flegrei. I'm really explaining everything there, also in connection with Vesuvius, what would happen if there was a bigger eruption, and the beef that scientists have among each other. That is recently a little bit scary, I have to say that. So thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe if you're new here. If you'd like to support my channel or me, it's just me. I'm just, yeah, and my doggies. They're parts of this channel, and become a supporting member, a monthly member of this channel for a lot of behind the scenes videos and stuff, and funny stuff, and angry stuff, and shizzy hits the fizzy stuff in private life. So click the join button. Also, link is in the description of this video. And if you want to support the channel through buying me coffees to keep me going, I have a buymeacoffee.com site/silky. Link is also in the description of this video, just right where your player is. Just scroll down a little bit or click read more. There's all the links. And I hope to see you very, very soon, and really check out my other videos that are here on the end screen. But there's so many more videos, so you really should check out my start page and click the notification bell that you're always on the pulse with me if something new is happening, guys. The world is rumbling, it's crazy. Although right now at Campi Flegrei, the earthquake storm has taken a little bit of a break with only 1 and 2 earthquakes here and there. This doesn't mean it's over. It's not over at all. So stay tuned. I see you very soon, guys. Bye-bye.